Hi, everybody. Hello. How's it going? It's good to see you. Yeah? How are you? Hold on. Okay. Everything's happening. I hope everybody's doing well, and I'm having some sort of allergic reaction to something. I'm not sure what it is, but I don't know. Anyway, things are crazy. Oh, wait, hold on. What's going on here? Yeah, should be that. That's better. But it's Saturday night. I'm in my favorite spot, which is here in this office. God bless this office. I'm so happy to have it. So grateful to have it. And I'm sitting here, and it's Saturday night, and I have a really good show for you tonight. I hope the things that I want to do are going to go the way I want them to go. I think so. Because, I don't know, I'm here with y'all, and, you're welcome, Sohani, and I still have that little note for you. I've got, you know what, I'm very proud of all the correspondence I've been doing lately, but there's always more to get done. But Sohani won the drawing, the monthly book giveaway last month. And do you like your book of stuff? Isn't it cool? It's nice, right? The wrapping paper. I don't think we've decided what we're giving away for the April giveaway yet. How about we announce that on Tuesday? There's a giveaway every month for subscribers, and for the tier 2 and tier 3 subscribers this month, when we do the special stream at the end of the month, the Sunday social, we're going to be giving away something very cool, a blanket from Verloop. Can you throw a link down there for Verloop stuff? And Stephanie Cake, everybody, on our producer.
Hello, happy Saturday night.
Happy Saturday night. Let's see. That's right. She's sweet. She's delicious. This is getting weird. She's Stephanie Cake, and I'm grateful for her, and everybody else is too. You help make people aware of what's going on. You update us on your research project, which is inspirational and educational and entertaining, and you just hold me down. You hold me down, girl. What am I going to do without you? I'd be talking to myself.
It is so much better that you're talking to a person with frosting on their head, right?
Oh, definitely. Like, I have to imagine that everybody has frosting on their head, just to get through life, but she actually doesn't. Okay. So anyway, so if you've never seen the show before, I'm glad you're here, and it's Quilt Nerd. We talk about we talk about the how, we talk about the why, and the what, right, of quilts. And we don't talk about the how-to exactly. I don't teach you how to make quilts on this show. Stephanie Cake doesn't teach you how to make quilts on this show. There's lots of really great content for all of that. And you should check out that content, and you should make a quilt because it's a good time. But here we talk about what quilts mean, why they matter to you, to me, to people who are dead, to people who are not yet living. We talk about culture, and the interesting thing about quilts is that it's everywhere. It's in rock and roll. That's right. We're gonna listen to a song tonight. We're gonna listen to the Rolling Stones tonight. We are, in a manner of speaking. I can't play the song that I want to play you on the air because the last time I just was like, I don't care, I'm doing a dance party. Hey Mary, thanks for liking the stream. The last time I decided just to wild out and play a bunch of songs, it was a co-working stream, and we had such a good time. It was so fun. And then Twitch was like, hi, you've received several, copyright, violations, whatever. I mean, of course, I played Rihanna, God forbid I play Rihanna and rock out to, some Beastie Boys on my live stream and have lots of people enjoy that music. Anyway, we won't go into copyright problems at this point. At this juncture. But I played a bunch of music that I couldn't play, and so then Twitch put me in detention, and so then now I'm out of detention. I don't want to go back into detention just because it was a pain to have to toggle this thing every time I did the show. So it's going to be a silent disco. I made a video. And we're gonna watch it. It's 2 minutes and 36 seconds. What we're gonna do, I guess I'm jumping into the content already. The quilt behind me tonight, to start off the show, the intro quilt, it changes every time. And tonight, it's an artwork by Miriam Shapiro, okay? We're gonna look at the whole thing in just a second. But it's from 1972. And I don't know about you, but my music consumption habits, or my music consumption pattern, is I listen to the same thing. Hey Wanda. I listen to the same thing over and over and over. like a new album will come out, or I'll like rediscover an album, or like I'll make a playlist, you know, and I listen to it. Only that. I mean, like Lady Gaga's art pop. I mean, I pretty much listened to art pop for about 2 years, you know? I mean, I did. And now anytime I'm in the East Village in the wintertime, you know, in New York City, I'm just like, art pop. I mean, I don't know. I love it so much. The contours of the music and the record, you know, they really become a part of you, you know? Also, why listen to music that you don't really love, you know, like really love? And so, if you live in a city, perhaps you listen to music the way I listen to music, or perhaps it has nothing to do with living in a city. But I put in my headphones, not at night, never at night. I can guarantee you, I never wear my headphones at night because you can't hear as well. And that seems dangerous to me when I'm walking along in a city. But during the daytime, like, oh yeah, you know, I totally put in the headphones and I like, you know, I'm walking around, I'm in my zone, I'm in my world, and yet of the world. And lately, I cannot stop listening to the Rolling Stones' Exile on Main Street from 1972. Let me just say, okay, do we have Stones fans in the house? Because Lisa's here. Lisa, I love you, Lisa. Lisa Riggs. There's champagne. There's that. There's everything. Hey, Michael. Hi, Michael and Eva. Oh my God, I haven't said hi to anybody. Roxanne. I've been listening to the Police too. Oh God, I bet you hate that, don't you? Do people do that all the time? Do you? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that I did it. But we are talking about music from the 70s. I mean, you know, I'm gonna give myself a pass on that. But, yeah, Roxanne. You said some of your quilts have theme music. Okay, yes, and this is where I'm kind of going with this too. And let's see, you say, hold on, what did you just say, Roxanne? You said something brilliant. Sherlock remembers that co-work. Thank you very much. And yeah, you have theme music. The chat got paused because of something. What did Roxanne say, Steph? Did you see? She said she had theme music for some of her quilts, or when she's making them. Yeah. Something like
yes,
that.
I saw that. It was theme, like, oh gosh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I put you on the spot. I couldn't.
The way Stephen King has a soundtrack when he writes, that's what she was saying.
Right, okay, yeah.
And yes,
totally.
People have been saying it to her for 40 plus years, so good job, Erin.
Good. So good. In fact, that record by the Police, Outlandish and More, I think that record is really, I was listening to that too. But anyway, so I'm not a huge Stones fan. I'm not I don't know about that band, like a lot about the band. Some people love the Rolling Stones. Tori Amos, I could tell you all about it. You know, Bjork, let's talk. But there's something about that record right now, and I'm listening to the remastered version, and people who do know, how do I feel like Kenny might be like, let me tell you about Exile on Main Street, you know, like in all the lore. I just feel like it's something maybe Kenny knows about, but it's considered one of the greatest rock and roll albums of all time. How do we judge these things? Well, you know, 50 years later, I cannot stop listening to it, especially the first 3 songs. The first 3 songs, I think, are like, they're perfect. It's the perfect, like, triad to start an album. And I mean, and I'm more like hip hop, like, I'm way more likely to listen to hip hop and female rap than I am to listen to, like, rock and roll records from the 70s. But anyway, my point in all of this is that the band is the Rolling Stones. And I just want to share Let It Rock with you. It's a song. It's the second song on the album. It's 2 minutes and 32 seconds. I really want to listen to it with you. I just do, because, you know, yeah, we're into quilts. Like, that's one part of who we are. And there's all of this other stuff that we love. And I love you. And I love this song, and I can't stop listening to it. And it's so good. I know it will make you happy. So what I did to make it make sense is, hey, Susan, hi. I made a video of Rolling Stone quilt blocks and quilts. It's 2 minutes and 36 seconds, and I'm gonna play it, and we're gonna have a silent disco. So Stephanie Cake has the link to Spotify. I sent it ahead of time. So, but if you listen to Apple Music, this is your warning, or this is your prep time, so we're going to talk about the quilt behind me. But what I want you to do is queue up, you know, however you listen to music streaming. If you don't listen to music streaming, that's okay. Go to YouTube, you know, find Let It Rock. Is that right? Saying the name wrong? No. And then when I say, okay, ready? Wherever you are, you play the song. And I'll play the song here, but I'll mute my mic. Do you see what's going to happen? So somebody tuning into the stream is going to be like, what the hell is this? Because I'm going to be dancing, but there won't be any song. There won't be any sound. And then these quilt blocks and like stuff, they're just going to play on the screen, but nobody's really going to understand. But you will. And you will be rocking out to this song, and you will love it, and you will be like, God, I love that show. I need to subscribe. I gotta subscribe to this show. There's no show like this show. I love this show. That's what I think's gonna happen. You know what I mean? Okay. So we're gonna see. Silent disco, silent dance party, Okay, so we'll try that. And let's see, Michael Frederick, thank you. Michael's got the dancing, the emojis. Hey, Rock Dog. And Eva, I think I said, your internet is messed up. Listen, you know what? Replay gang. You're in the replay. Feandor. Is Feandor up in here? I hope so. Okay. Yeah, okay, good. Perfect night for you, Feandor. Perfect night. Okay, so, okay, let's we're gonna jump right in, because the other thing that I have, when I tell you it's a great show, we're gonna watch another short video with sound that I didn't know was on YouTube until Mary Kay Waldvogel let me know that the Alliance for the American Quilt has this video. It's 11 minutes, and Cuesta Benberry, the great quilt historian Cuesta Benberry, who passed away in 2007. It's an interview with Cuesta, and I didn't know. I saw it, but I hadn't seen it. We didn't watch it. I hear you. Did we?
We watched one Cuesta interview, but I can't. Yeah. It's been a while ago. I want to say you might have had to speed it up, because she's one of those very slow Southern talkers. Yep.
I'm like 90% sure this is a different one, but I will go back and make sure. But if it isn't, I have that other thing. Anyway, okay. So we've got that, and we also have there's a huge development. So I'm doing this research on Bertha Mextroth. I'm going to show, if people aren't familiar with her, I'll show a couple quilts of hers just to kind of tell you what's going on. On Thursday, I went downtown to the clerk of the Cook County Clerk, Office of the Cook County Circuit Clerk? What is it? It's a lot of C's. The Office of the City Clerk of Cook County. And a few weeks ago, I requested probate records for this person, Bertha Mextroth, because she lived in Glencoe, which is a suburb. She was a great quilter. She was really, really, really an incredible artist. And she saved up a lot of money so that when she died in 1960, she didn't know she was going to die in 1960, but when she died in 1960, and in her will, which I had not seen until Thursday, in her will, this lady, this great artist, she said, I want all of my quilts to stay together, and I've saved $70,000 to ensure that they stay together. We'll talk about the will and how it was whatever. So she said this, it was in her will. Her will had 3 signatures on it from witnesses who saw her sign it, who saw her, who knew she wanted her magnificent quilts to stay together, and that she had set this money aside for that to happen. When she died, that didn't happen. Her will was contested, basically, and her quilts were scattered to the wind. And I'm hot on the trail, and I found one, and I found another one, and I'm gonna find these quilts, and I'm gonna make a book. I'm gonna make a book about Bertha. And I work on this thing a lot, more than I talk about, because there's so many other things to do, but also it's like my happy place. Early in the morning, I do Bertha stuff. And because she died in Cook County, or because she died in the area, her probate will records were gettable, easily gettable. And I rode a divvy bike. I rode a city rideshare bike. I flew downtown, and I walked in there, and I saw Bertha Mextroth's will, and I took a picture of it. I took a picture of everything, because their copy machine was broken. That was fine, because it was free to take pictures with your phone. So I stood there in the hour I had before they closed, like that. And oh my God. And so we are going to have a dramatic reading tonight. That's right. I sent Stephanie Cake. One of the things that I found was this was the transcript of like not the trial, but the time in the court when the lawyer for like the bank who was contesting the will or whatever, and I have questions for you. Part of this why this show is so important is because we can talk to each other about things. We can ask questions. I don't know how probate court works. I don't understand. How could anybody contest that? I don't know if it was a family member that contested the will. I'm not sure. I haven't even read everything yet because I had to take these pictures as fast as I could. But I want to ask you all questions about this. How does that work? How could it be? But there is the transcript of what the lawyer said to make her sound crazy and make her will be pointless, useless, not worth the paper it was written on. And it's wild. And so I sent a copy to Steph, and so we're going to read that transcript to you tonight. And you will be very upset. You will. So we're going to do that. So Rolling Stones, True Crime, and Cuesta Benberry, unless I screwed up and I have the wrong video, which is possible. I don't know. We'll see. But it's going to be good. It's going to be real, real good. Rip This Joint. Thank you. It's Rip This Joint. That's the song, not Let It Rock. What am I thinking of? Oh, I know. I'm thinking of one of the lyrics from the first song on the album. Okay. So let's look at this quilt behind me. You've waited long enough, but I had to tell you what's going on. Okay, here we go. Let me get small. Get small. Okay, I'm small. Babe, you're cute. Oh, you're so cute. Babe, you're cute. Oh, Miss Eleni cheered. Thank you for the cheer. You know, you can cheer, folks. We've never really talked about cheering bits and things here on Twitch, but it's great. If you like something, you can cheer with bits, and it's something that you can do. And I think you click a thing down in your little chat box. And anyway, I focus on the content, not on the technicalities sometimes, and maybe I should put time into that. But anyway, so this is the fun part. So this is a piece by Miriam Shapiro, and I love this person, this artist. She was born in 1923, Miriam Shapiro, and she passed away, it was like in 2012 or something like that, you know. And she lived to be to a ripe old age. She lived a long life, and she was an artist who was part of the pattern and decoration movement, which is always so interesting to me. That's another question I have for you, Steph. Don't let me forget to ask about the. Say don't forget to ask about the archives question, the Miriam Shapiro archives question, okay? Just don't let me forget, because it's about that study center thing. Okay. So Miriam Shapiro was part of this movement called pattern and decoration in the arts. You know, she was in California, she was in New York, and she was a painter, trained as a painter, and she used fabric in a lot of her work. After a time, she was doing abstract painting, and she was doing lots of different styles of art. But this work was made in 1972, and it's called, how do you say it, Steph?
I believe it is Eurydice, and I do have those details about Eurydice if you would like me to read them.
I would. So Eurydice is the name of this piece, 1972, and I asked Steph, I was like, can you get the Greek... And did you get the info? What is Eurydice?
Yeah. I knew it was a Greek thing. I could, Greek gods and goddess thing. Right. I couldn't remember the details. But in Virgil's version of the Greek myth, Eurydice is a newlywed oak nymph who, while fleeing an attacker in the forest, steps on a venomous snake and dies. Upon receiving news of his wife's sudden passing, Orpheus, the renowned musician and poet, descends to the underworld Hades to claim her.
Okay. So these are the references. This is the reference that Miriam Shapiro is making in this piece. And there's fabric on the piece. So it's painted, as you can probably tell. And we'll just look at the full piece now, since I had the close-up behind me for a while. There's paint. It's on canvas, okay? But there's fabric on it as well. And Miriam Shapiro is known for creating a style of mixed media that she called themage. It comes up from time to time because, pretty interesting. And Miriam Shapiro was one of those people that quilts had a presence in her work. Patchwork had a presence in her work, and she was at MoMA, and she was one of those artists that pierced the veil, as we like to say, into those fine art, like the echelons, right? Those fancy fine art galleries that never wanted quilts in there before, But she was doing things that kind of blurred the lines for people who thought that art and craft just should be separate, or just simply are separate things. And we don't think that that's really valid around here, but when she was doing this femage, that was, she was really playing around with she was using collage and feminism, right, kind of to create this this concept of femage, collage with sort of a feminist ideology behind it. And I'll so you don't have to take it from me. Here is just a word from the National Museum of Women in the Arts. Hey, Lisa. National Museum of Women in the Arts says, Miriam Shapiro, feminist and femagist. So I'll give you some detail shots of this work as I read to you what they have to say. It's very brief about femage. Let's see. Miriam Shapiro is often cited along Judy Chicago as a founder of the feminist art program at the California Institute of the Arts. In 1972, the two artists co-created Woman House, and that's a real big deal, with 21 art students. And then they talk about Woman House, which is a very, big seminal moment in like feminist art and art in the 1970s and all that. As her career progressed, Shapiro became interested in art and techniques that had been considered quote-unquote female or women's work. These techniques included quilting and embroidery, and have often been ignored in canonical high art, quote-unquote. Shapiro invented the term femage, that's F-E-M-M-A-G-E, femage, to explain her process for creating art, in which she began to combine painting, textiles, and painting, textiles. I lost my place. And paper into collages. She transformed the collage, first brought into the realm of canonical art by male heavyweights Picasso and Braque, into a feminine exploration of pattern and texture, coupled with traditional artisanal elements such as lace, fabric, and needlework. Through this work, she calls for techniques once deemed mere craft, quote unquote, to be brought into the realm of fine art. Her bright, colorful, and busy compositions ushered in a new art form at the time when the art world and market was focused on minimalist and conceptual art. And they're talking about the pattern and decoration movement. And so that's a little bit about femage and this really beautiful piece. I love it. I love her. I just love her. And I like to share things that I like with you. And Word and Bird Nerd. Hey, Jill. Hi. Oh no. I just dropped in to see that Jill is saying something is terrible, and I probably agree with Jill in general, right? Oh, Pastrami Tacos, hi. Hey, Payson. So were you gonna say something, Cake, or were you? Did I? Okay.
No, I was just saying. I think everybody was talking about how terrible probate court is.
Oh, interesting. Okay. See, I'm looking forward to learning more. Okay. So. That's that. Now, I picked it because we're going to go into 1972. We're going to listen to Rip This Joint by the Rolling Stones. And I'm going to play a video that I made very quickly, extremely quickly, that has Rolling Stones in it. So there's a quilt block called Rolling Stone, and it is it's very nice. And there are quilts called, Rolling Stone. And there's a lot of them out there because it's a quilt block that's, it's been around a lot. I've been around for a while. And let me do this. Okay, yeah. And so I really want to listen with you to Rip This Joint by the Rolling Stones from Exile on Main Street, 1972. And I want to just share that moment with you. I can't play it on the air live, but I'm going to play it in here, but I'm going to mute my mic. Otherwise, big men in suits will come and take the show away. which is crazy because it seems like Carol agrees with me. It seems like we should be able to play a song and like get down to it. I mean, don't they make money if we do? I don't understand, but that's okay.
That's why, because they don't make money if you do.
Right, because I'm broadcasting it, basically, right?
We're getting a little Rolling Stones a tiny wee Rolling Stones concert if you played it.
And God forbid.
And, they can't make ends meet. I mean, Shea Stadium barely put change in their pocket, so.
You know what's funny? It's like fair use is really interesting. I mean, if somebody wanted to take all of the quilt, this whole show, every episode, and do a reaction video to it, and just like record, live stream, they could play the show, and just make fun of me the whole time. I dare you to do it for a year and a half with 2-hour shows every night. Then anyway, no, but I mean you could, and that's fair use. And I wouldn't say anything. I wouldn't do anything. If they start it's just anyway. Let's not let that get to us. Cue up the song, and I am gonna press play on the song, and I'm gonna.
Will the chat box be covering up the video?
Oh, yes, but it won't be a problem. It's just visuals. It's just all visuals. I did a version where I put a bunch of pictures of the Rolling Stones and like Keith Richards and stuff. It just was weird. It was cringy. It was bad. So, okay, this won't be cringy at all. I will probably like dance a little bit. Okay, you ready? Rolling Stones, Exile on Main Street, Rip This Joint. Let's do this. Okay, ready? And go. Oh, it was good. I just had to do it. Oh, I had to do it. Thank you. I mean, why? Okay. Why not, right? Why not? Well, I know. We just can't. We can't do it. We can't do it together, but we can do it together. And I wanted to have the dance party that Sherlock and we experienced it. We did. It was worth it. Ivana was there. She said it was worth it. Anyway, thank you. Thanks, Kate. I appreciate it. Okay. So,
about something related to Miriam Shapiro Archives.
Okay. So, thank you. So, here's the deal. The National Museum of Women in the Arts, they are closed for renovation. And I've called twice. They're in DC, and I've called twice to see if I can still get into the archives for the museum. And nobody's called me back. So I don't know what to do, because they have stuff there that I'd like to take a look at. And I don't know. Like, does anybody know anybody at the National Museum of Women of the Arts? I don't know. If you do, I need some help. Hey, Quilted Soul. Joyce. Thanks. I'm glad you liked it. Okay, good. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I've called a couple times, and the AQSG Study Center deadline's coming up, and if I can't get into that archive, then I can't do what I'm going to do. So anyway, okay, let me find this thing.
Those of us that live in the DC region could go just knock on the door for you.
I mean, if somebody's in nearby, like, I don't know, I called twice and left a message, and it's just odd nobody's called me back, and they said, like, for administration, whatever, leave a message, but I don't know, like, I don't know what else I can do. So I don't know if anybody, I guess the better question more specifically is, if a museum that has a library is closed for renovation, I mean, it's probably closed, right? I mean...
Yeah, I can tell you, I don't know if some of you remember early on when I started, I mean, this hasn't been that long ago, but I started the Dunn research. The Baltimore Museum of Art, actually, their library was, they moved it to a different spot, and they changed its orientation. So they basically, like, ignored everybody for a couple months.
Sure. Yeah.
So... that could be they're just not answering requests.
Yeah, it's
kind of crappy. I mean, they could have an auto response that says, "Hey, we're not taking requests. We're moving the library around."
Yeah, and I figured the website would say something, but I really dug in and I didn't see anything. So yeah, I mean, if they're doing renovations on the building, they're probably renovating, the building and the whole thing. So anyway, okay, good to know. Hey, Padma, and Eva's here, and about Kirsten. Hi. It makes, okay, I'm so glad you liked it. I had to do it. Yvonne, oh my God, Yvonne. Speak. Whoa, sorry. Speak, and Yvonne will appear with a little train whistle and more Rolling Stones. It's great to see you, Yvonne. I'm so glad you're here. You're the best. You're just the best. And Kate Who Cooks is here. That's so great. Try and find a staff person on LinkedIn, says Kate Who Cooks. That's a good idea for finding the people at the museum. That's great. Bridgewater and VA, you may have a friend. That is good. Yeah, that's good. See, this is why, if you have a question like the one I just asked, which is sort of vague and not totally, I don't know, maybe easy to help someone out with, this is a good community if you're like looking for help on things. I mean, like, there's like 6 suggestions from people. Like, hey, look on LinkedIn, talk to a member of American Quilt Study Group. Maybe I know somebody. Yeah, there's a lot of that kind of stuff that happens here, not just me asking questions. Asking questions in the chat is like, it's a good strategy. You're going to get answers from people. Yeah. Ivana, it's great to see you. My great cats, hi. Okay. Hey, Jayden, sure. So here we go. So what we're gonna do, let's do this cake. Let's do this Bertha stuff, and then we'll take a break and we'll finish up with the last thing that I have tonight. But I can't keep you in suspense. So one thing that I'm gonna do first is I'm going to show you. And Jay Denser, you just came in, and so honey, that's a good point. So here's what's going on. I gave a teaser of this at the top of the show. This is the archives room at the office of the city clerk of Cook County. And I was there on Thursday, and I took pictures like a nerd of, where I was. I was like, oh, here it is, and the people were great. They were like joking around, and anyway, we were getting along pretty well, having a good time. Anyway, I had an hour to be with the file that I requested. Of course, I could have come back the next day, and it's still there, and I'll go back and look at things again. But I requested the probate records for the case of Bertha Mextroth, okay? Bertha Mextroth, the reason we care, Bertha Mextroth was this quilt maker who made really, really neat quilts in like mid-century, like maybe late 20s. the stuff I have to show you, it's gonna blow you away. Like, it's really crazy. It's really crazy what was in that record. So you know, late, like 1928 is the first quilt that that she wrote down, that she made 1928. She died in 1960, still learning like how many quilts she made, like up until her death. But she made really, really cool stuff. They were quilts that didn't look like anybody else's. Reverse applique. She worked, well, we'll get there. She did a lot of lettering in her quilts, a lot of writing, or, you know, text, I should say. Daughters of the Connecticut. So she had, hey Connie, she had so much religious feeling. Her faith was very important to her later in her life. I know so much. I'm gonna try to keep it back, because there's a big file. I call it Big Bertha now. The Big Bertha file is getting very, very large. I actually have a filing cabinet now with all the stuff. But she called these quilts her sculptures in cloth, and she studied sculpture at the Art Institute here in Chicago. She lived most of her life in the Chicago area, most of her life. She went to Radcliffe for school. She met Helen Keller there and was friends with Helen Keller while in Radcliffe. She started making quilts later in her life. Her sister was Anna, her older sister. She had 3 siblings, and this becomes important. Her older sister was Anna. And Anna Nextroth, they were all born in Wisconsin. Anna married Richard Sears. And Richard Sears was this guy, you know, Dick Sears. But Richard Sears would go on to be Mr. Sears and Roebuck. So her sister, her brother-in-law, was Richard Sears, and that would be important because the quilts that she would make, Anna, her sister, encouraged her to start making quilts when she was, you know, into her 40s, maybe even a little later. And the silks and the cottons and the threads and the wonderful materials that Bertha used, came from Sears and Roebuck, because, you know, she had the hook up. So this quilt is called Wedgwood. It was made in 1932. Sorry, Deer in Wedgwood, made in 1932. One thing that's interesting about Bertha, she would make copies of a lot of her quilts. And so she would make one design and then she would do it again and do it again. I know that there's two, there's several. I have an inventory, which you'll see here in a minute. At her death, I have an inventory of the quilts that were in her possession when she died, because the probate people made a list of all the quilts that were in her estate. I know that there are 2 copies there's 2 versions of this quilt, because I found one of them. So this is called Easter Cross. And I know we've talked about Bertha, but things are changing, people. They're getting real deep. It's getting deep. This quilt is the first quilt by Bertha Mextroth I ever saw. And it was in the Fabric of a Nation quilt exhibit book, produced by the Museum of Fine Arts Boston in 2021. Yeah. Recently. This quilt is owned by the Museum of Fine Arts Boston. Those are bats up in the border, and that's spiderweb quilting, like spiderweb motif. This quilt is called Easter Cross, and yeah, I mean, reverse applique, totally gorgeous, and it was made in 1933. Well, I was up in newspapers.com one day, not too long ago, maybe a month ago, and I mean, I'm really saving back some of this stuff because, like, I don't know, I just want to make even more progress. Anyway, so I'm doing a search, because, you know, you search in Google and sometimes you don't get something, but then you got to reword your search. I mean, being good at searching things on the internet means just like constantly sort of revising what you're asking for, right? To make sure that the computer understands something of what you want. Well, this tiny corner of an article, this article about a quilt exhibit in Iowa, where I'm from, right, in Iowa. Bertha Mextroth was not in the article about the quilt exhibit, but in the caption, in one of the tiniest pictures in the item in the newspaper, there was a corner. There was like one tiny corner of a bat showing in the picture, and it said Bertha Mextroth Easter quilt detail. And I was like, ugh, because you know what's so wild is that quilt was being exhibited by a place called Living History Farms. And Living History Farms is about 50 minutes from where I was born. Yeah. Living History Farms is like we went on school field trips there. There's like feed the cows, learn how they churned butter in 1895, well, maybe, I don't know, learn how to churn butter, and it was hot and it was like a field trip and we hated it. But they have a quilt collection and they have one of these. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? It's so weird. Yeah. So I was like, well, that's strange. And so I emailed them, of course, and I was like, hello. And I always try to keep it like really brief, but I'm like, no, this is so fascinating. It's like, I'm trying to track down all these quilts, right? And I'll tell you why they all went away. Anyway, I'm going to go see it. On the 19th of April, I'm headed to Iowa on the 17th of April to hang out with my mom and work on a project with my mom and Quilt Folk. It's so exciting. We're going to talk about it later. Oh my God, it's so cool. Like with mom and me and Quilt Folk, it's gonna be great. And I'm gonna be in Iowa, and I made an appointment, and the lady is gonna get this thing out, and she is gonna lay it out, and I'm gonna take pictures of them. I'm gonna look at them. I'm gonna touch it. Well, okay, I'm not gonna touch it. I won't, of course, I won't touch it. But
you're gonna touch it.
Yeah, totally. Okay, you didn't hear it. You didn't hear it. I would never touch it. I would never, ever. I would never. With gloves. No, I'm kidding. I've earned it. No. Anyway, no, I'm serious. We must respect. I would never encourage anything like that. But, that's pretty cool, right? Is that cool? She will touch it. Eva, I keep looking down when you comment, and I'm just like, she will touch it. That's hilarious. Anyway, so it is very exciting. It is unusual. Word and Bird Nerd says, is it unusual to make multiples of the same quilt? I think it is. I mean, my mom's always said, like, I would never make a quilt twice. Like, are you kidding? I want to make new things. Have you ever made something again? Cake?
I've made things again because I had to.
Sure.
Or I was doing like a series and there were, repeats of something. But yeah, right. I'm the same way. I like to be working on new things.
Yes, exactly. Same. So she made copies of them to give them away. She gave a lot of quilts away. Anyway. So she made about.
Do you know why she made multiples?
Well,
do you know why she made multiples of that?
I think it's because she was giving them away, and maybe she wanted a copy herself because she gave a lot of quilts away to family members. When she died, she had like 150 or some. I mean, there was a lot of quilts that she had. And let's look at her will. I've got more quilts to show you, but let's take a look at some of this stuff that I found. So Bertha made all these quilts, and she gave them, like I said, to her family. She exhibited quilts at the Century of Progress exhibit in Chicago. In 1933, which is a pretty big deal too. She was the only solo exhibiting quilt maker there. And this is her file. This is it. Look at this. This was getting creepy, right? Like, it got a little spooky. She died in 1960, and this is the story of her death in this folder. And that's weird. Isn't that kind of weird? I've never done anything like this. If people have done research, genealogical research. Kate, you said you've done some of that. Like you've been up in here, right? In these files. It was a new thing for me. I hadn't, and it's also just kind of weird to see her name in this context. I mean, it's like deceased, the estate closed. I felt a little bit like I was in like Law and Order. Okay, like I just felt like I was in some kind of, let me go to the Clerk County Archives, and I felt like I was in a caper. Okay, so I took pictures of everything. This is the back of the folder, just in case. I was excited. So I've heard. Oh, and I also took pictures that were mistakes, but I'm keeping them because it was like click, click, click. Oh yeah, there's my leg. And I have heard about this will. I have been enraged by this will. I mean, by what happened to her will. But I'd never seen the will. And this is it. This is it. The Will of Bertha Amelia Mextroth. It's so badass because she says, "Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." And it's like, ooh, you have been cursed by Bertha. I mean, it's like in all caps. She's like, I'm writing in all caps. This is my will. Don't screw it up or I will haunt you. Right? So, July 24th, 56. So she made this will 4 years before she died. Where did she die and how? She died in a sanitarium at North Shore Hospital in 1960. Am I out for those records? You better believe it. The list is long. Cake, you know, it's like, which lead do you follow? I mean, there's so... In fact, Stephanie and I were talking about research the other day, and you made a really good point. You're like, I think like research projects and stuff, they take a long time, and they like, people just, you know, it's like, so you work on something for so long, not because it's like super hard, but because it just takes forever to find the stuff, and you have to go to the thing, and then they have to, you know, I mean, it really takes a long time to like get anywhere, but it's so much fun. Anyway, let's see what she had to say. I'll read it aloud, okay? It's not very long, and I think it's very clear. Whereas all my close relatives and friends have received tokens of my affection in one or more quilts, and through the giving away of 46 in number, I evolved into the making of some 120 more, many of which are either copies of rare designs in different colors and under various names. They should be husbanded in such a group as could be preserved intact. Their housing has been tentatively planned. And whereas this disposition thereof necessitates both hall and living quarters, for which the money I and the quilts have saved during many years shall be made a memorial, I will both the furnishings and the quiltings to the memorial for my antecedents in my gratitude. Bertha Amelia Mextroth. And there are witnesses. There are 3. Elaine A. Siebold, Filomena Santucci, and Virgil, I believe, Prinkert, okay? Yeah, is that right? Okay, well, we'll know soon. So that's a will. It's got a date. It's got a signature. It's got a really big signature. It's got a pretty clear language. Although, I know there's lawyers out there, you know, or legal minds. There are questions. Sure, there are questions, but there are also not questions to me. I think that it's pretty clear that she wanted her quilts to stay together, and she had money for it, right? And we see how much money she had to help make this thing real. So that's the will, and that's pretty cool. Okay, thank you, my great cats. Pretty clear. So in this big folder, the will was there, and there was also so much stuff. I have so many things, and I took pictures of everything with my phone, right? So I mean, there are receipts for checks that were paid to the gas company. I mean, there's all of the things that of her death, you know, that needed to be recorded and paid for and stuff. I could show you all of the things. It would take far too long, and it would not be that interesting because, like, do you need to know that she had like X amount of stock in like Standard Oil and gas? And is it legal for me to show that? I mean, playing the Rolling Stones, I know that's not legal. Is it okay to show like 50-year-old records from somebody's probate? I don't think I want to push that. I don't want to roll those dice.
I think it is though because she's dead.
Yeah, and it's a long time. I mean, there's probably some kind of statute. I don't know. But names of her family, the family members who got money, the amount of money that they got, like, I'm not doing it. But this is interesting. So this is bill of appraisement, okay? And state of Illinois, Cook County, in the matter of the estate of, you can see right here, Bertha Mextroth, deceased, okay? Bill of appraisement. And this is everything in her house, right? All of her stuff. And so what's interesting is if this story gets to be, you know, if it gets real tight and I got lots of good support and I got all kinds of good information, I'm just saying it could be a movie. I'm just saying it could be a movie because we know what the set would look like. Okay, we know what her house is going to look like because we have all of her stuff. Library, oak table, oak, bulbous turned legs. Okay. Anyway, so this is all of her these are her furnishings, right? And I don't know in her will, when she said furnishings, she must have meant materials and things, right? She didn't mean like her house, the stuff in her house, right? That I don't know. But so semi-wing, table lamps, dresser. And actually, wait a minute. So
she had many overstuffed and badly worn couches and Davenports.
Which means we would get along just fine. Same. Bertha, same. Bring me some wine. Let me sit on one of your tuffets. Let's discuss. And there is a fabric in things. There's a lot, I saw fabric. Magic Chef. Magic Chef gas range. I had a Magic Chef. I did too. You did too? You had one? You have one now?
In my house, we had one. We got rid of it maybe 15 years ago. Those things last forever.
They will not. Well, they will not die. Yeah. They when I moved into I got my apartment, I could afford it because the stove was a Magic Chef from like 60 that I was too afraid to use. It smelled like it was poisoned. I couldn't cook. That's why I could afford the apartment. Anyway, so there's all this cool stuff, right? Okay, all this stuff. Yeah, Felt mattress. Sounds weird. Okay. Ooh, look, RCA Victor. Okay. So there's all this stuff. But there's another inventory. Oh, yes. Now, I had this one. Y'all, I had this one already, but it's really interesting to see it in the file. Estate of Bertha Mextroth. Collection of 89 quilts in storage at Iredale Storage and Moving Company. There's a receipt for the Iredale Storage and Moving Company, right? To like get the stuff. In Cook County. All quilts executed. Now, this is interesting, people, because I have heard several times, including the one article that was written about Bertha Mextroth with any kind of depth was in 1981. Joyce Gross, God rest her soul, amazing. In that article and somewhere else, people have said, oh, people helped her. She had people sewing for her. Okay, cool. Totally believe it. Who? And where's your evidence? And I want that evidence. I want all of the evidence. I don't know. I don't want to make conjectures, but so far I have not. There's one thing that Stephanie is probably going to read out of this transcript that maybe it says that someone helped her. But so far, I don't have names of people who helped her. It hasn't come up in anything that I've read, and I've started to read a lot. I've talked to her niece. I've talked to this woman who did anyway. So far, I don't know who these people are who are helping her. And sometimes people who help ladies make quilts don't get their names put into the story, so I'm definitely aware of that, and I'm not going to sleep until I figure it out. But I'm just saying, here it says all quilts executed by Mrs. Bertha Mextroth with the possible exception of item number 73. Second numbers prefixed by the number sign and titles are those as indicated by the maker. Titles and quotation marks are full or partial quotations appearing on the quilt. So this is, it's fascinating, it's important information, but not necessarily interesting for our purposes. So look, silk quilts. These are all the silk quilts. The orchard. Look, and it's described the sky. That's what she called it. That's the title of the quilt. She put the title on the back. It's inscribed the spacious firmament on high, etc. Light and dark blue, gold color and cream color silk, cut and inset silk applique, design of inscription in stars, dark blue border, and the measurement. So there's 89 of them, and they're all awesome sounding. And we know what some of them look like because at this point, the Quilt Museum has some. I have found a couple more, and it's very exciting. And when I think I maybe have a lead on one or I can find one, I go to this inventory, which I had a copy of from before, and I see if maybe it's described. One of the things that she made was a coat of arms for Sears, for the store. And I contacted Sears Archives to see, do you know what I'm talking about? Do you have a picture? It wouldn't have been in the store. It would have been in the headquarters, right? Would it have been hanging in Richard Sears' office? Would it have been hanging in the hallway? Who took pictures of Sears headquarters? Nobody's gotten back to me yet. And the website for Sears Archives, it's like it's like a fan site. We love Sears and the archives. And it's just some guy in Tucson who's I don't know. I get the emails sometimes. Anyway. So it's really, really cool to have this inventory. And all of these quilts were split up. All of the quilts inventoried were split in half. Half of them went to Radcliffe College. Half of them went to Barat College in Lake Forest, Illinois. Look at this. It goes on and on. Look at this. Oh, look. Ooh, look at this. Pulchra et industra. You see that? Silk, cherry color crepe de chine applique, monogram BAM, surmounted with spread eagle. BAM, Bertha Amelia Mextroth. Wide black border, gold silk cord, edge quilting. Oh gee, what does it look like? What does that one look like? It's this! Yes! We know where that one is because it's at the Quilt Museum. Look, BAM, Bertha Amelia Mextroth, Pulchra et Industra. And that, which is Latin, of course, translates, interestingly, to beautiful and industrious, which is interesting because Bertha Mextroth was very short. And one of her friends described her as looking like Mrs. Tiggywinkle. Yeah. Which is super cool, Maggie. Thanks. But, you know, and Bessie Potter is this famous sculptor, and she worked at Bessie Potter was a very famous, accomplished sculptor in Bertha Mextroth's lifetime, and Bertha met her at the Chicago World's Fair in 1893, and she wanted to be just like Bessie Potter. And Bessie Potter made these long, elongated sculptures of like Madonnas and childs, and they were very sort of Art Deco and beautiful and amazing. And Bertha wanted to be a sculptor, but she never made it. She never made it as a sculptor, and some people say she was lame from polio and she couldn't lift the stones. So far, I don't hear her saying anything like that. She wrote a little bit of an autobiography that wasn't published. It's kind of hard to get through, I'll be honest. But I think this all of her figures, look how elongated they are. They are long, they are narrow. This quilt it's Three Kings, Melchior, Caspar, Balthazar, made in 1932. It's at the Quilt Museum in Lincoln, Nebraska. Long, thin figures. This happens over and over again. It's these sort of, yeah, they're like, I don't know. They're not, the proportions are very specific, and Bessie Potter's sculptures are the same way. And here's Bertha, and she was short, and she was, she couldn't do the sculpting, and I don't know. And so it's kind of interesting with her coat of arms, beautiful and industrious, It's interesting. Anyway, so here we are. We got to get to this reading. So Pulchra, there it is right there. Okay. So also, and now we come to the dramatic reading. Also in the file in this place is a transcript of it's not a trial, right? I mean, it's people talking in a court. What are we reading exactly?
Well, I mean, I think it's not a trial necessarily. It's like a hearing.
Yeah, it's a hearing, right.
They're taking testimony.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, these aren't depositions. This is in front of the court. So yeah, it's a hearing.
Okay. So we've seen this will. We've looked at these quilts. She wanted them all to be together. And she had $70,000. I'll give that part away. $70,000 saved to help this memorial, to make this memorial. Now, it's true, and Steph and I have talked about this. It's pretty vague. Like a memorial as in what? A shrine, a house, a collections room.
You let me read this the other day,
yeah.
But I didn't catch it. She said antecedent. So, I mean, she was talking about sort of a memorial to the Mextroths, right?
Yeah. You could definitely read that, I think, into it, right? So, okay, let me get this. I've got to, I wanted to print this out, but the files are so large. Okay, hang on. So, okay, great. Here it is. Great. So, oh, yeah. Well, I guess I could, you know what? I'll keep it up on the screen. That works because some people maybe can read it and some people can listen. And anyway, we haven't rehearsed this. We're just going to go through this and let's just see what happens, okay? Because they're talking about, well, you'll see. I don't know. I haven't even read it all myself.
I have no idea who I'm even playing.
So. Well, yeah, exactly. We'll switch off and it'll be it's a crack up. You know what I mean? So here we go. Because I want to hear the lawyer say why the will is crap. It's in here. It's in here and it's fascinating. And this is not that long. Don't worry about that. Okay. State of Illinois. It's in 1960. Testimony taken in the probate court of Cook County. Judge Robert Jerome Dunn presiding on the 30th day of August, A.D., 1960, in the matter of the proof of the last will and testament in the above-named estate. The above-named estate, Bertha Amelia Maxtroth, deceased. Appearances, cast characters, if you will. Mr. John J. Flynn, representing the petitioner. Mr. Benjamin J. Adamowski, State's Attorney. By Mr. Donald Homer, Assistant State's Attorney. Mr. William L. Guild, Attorney General. By Mr. Leonard F. McGee, Jr., Assistant Attorney General. But most of this means very little to me. I get confused, but that's okay. Mr. Daniel W. Pecknia, Guardian ad litem. We'll talk about that later. Now, do I have the right? Am I? Yes. Do you have Mr. Flynn? Yeah, page 2. Okay, great. Okay, yes, great. Okay, the court, so we're going to skip down here. The court says, are the witnesses here? To the witnesses, because the guardian part isn't terribly important. So let's get to the witnesses, right? And so the court says, are the witnesses here? Meaning the witnesses for the will, okay? And are the witnesses here? Okay, swear all the witnesses, please. Witnesses are sworn. Okay. You be Elaine, okay? You be Elaine A. Seavold. Okay. Elaine A. Seavold, called as a witness herein, having been first duly sworn, was examined and testified as follows. Direct examination by Mr. Flynn. What is your name?
Elaine A. Seavold.
I love it. This is great. Where do you reside?
140 Park Avenue, Glencoe.
Glencoe, Brooklyn. What's it to you? Okay, sorry. Were you acquainted with Bertha A. Maxtroth during her lifetime?
Yes.
I show you an instrument purporting to bear your name and signature and ask you if you signed the same.
Yes.
At whose request did you sign this instrument?
Bertha Maxtroth.
And for what purpose?
To witness her will.
And did you see her sign it?
Yes, I did.
Did she see you sign it?
Yes, she did.
Who was present when you and she signed the instrument?
Mrs. Santucci.
I love you so much. Who?
Mrs. Santucci and Mrs. Pranker.
Spell that.
Prenkert.
Did you believe her to be, yes, as in Bertha Maxtroth, did you believe her to be of sound mind and disposing memory when she signed the instrument?
Yes.
And did you believe her to be of sound mind and disposing memory when you signed the instrument?
Yes, I did.
Did she get married after she signed the instrument?
No.
Did she have or adopt any child or children after she signed the instrument?
Listen, mister, she was like 83. Okay, no.
Miss Seavold. Okay, look at the instrument and see if it is in the same condition now as when you signed it.
Yes.
Any cross-examination? No questions. No questions. I have none. Okay, great. Thank you, Miss Seavold. Great. Thank you. Examination by the court. Okay, wait. Yeah, 5. Okay, wait, hold on. Mr. Flynn. Okay, the witness. Oh, interesting. Is this person... Okay. The witness. Oh, that's weird. Examination by the court. How long have you known the deceased? 15 years. How old was she? I'm confused. Who is that? No questions. I have none. Like,
is this the Prankert person? Maybe?
Yeah, I think so. But how come her name?
I think, it's weird. It's like there was a section missing in like the court transcript.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Yeah, it's Reader's Theater. Quilt Reader's Theater, Miss Shaw. Okay, this is great. Now it starts getting real good. Okay. So now you're gonna be Philomena Santucci. And now you can really do that part. You can really do that. Okay. Philomena Santucci, called as a witness herein, having been, you don't have to do anything. You could do a Dutch accent. I don't care what, or you can do whatever you want to do. This is your art. Okay. Philomena Santucci, called as a witness herein, having first been duly sworn, was examined and testified as follows. Direct examination by Mr. Flynn. What is your name?
Oh, Philomena Santucci.
Santucci.
Oh, that's right.
Where do you live?
1835 Cuesta Avenue, Northbrook, Illinois.
Did you know Bertha A. Mextroth during her lifetime?
Oh, yeah, for 17 years.
God. I show you an instrument purporting to bear your name and signature and ask if you signed the same.
Yes, I did.
Where were you when you signed the instrument?
Right in her own home.
Did you see her sign it?
Yes, I did.
And did
yes,
she?
Sir.
Yeah. And did she see you sign it?
She did.
And whose request did you sign the instrument?
Well, to the will.
Who asked you to sign the document?
Oh, Bertha Mextroth.
For what purpose?
Oh, she was making the will.
Now, who was present when you signed the instrument?
Mrs. Siebold and Mrs. Pranger.
And yourself?
Yes.
And Bertha Mextroth?
Yes.
And at the same time she signed the will, did you believe her to be of sound and disposing mind and memory?
Yes.
Did you so believe her to be of sound and disposing mind and memory when you signed as a witness?
That's right.
When was the document signed at or about the time and the date it bears?
Yes.
That's July 24th, 1956?
Yes.
Now, after she signed the will, do you know whether Bertha Mextroth married?
No.
Did she have or adopt any child or children after she signed the instrument?
Oh, mister, she was eating it. No.
And about how old was she? This is interesting. And about how old was she when you signed the instrument?
She must have been about 80 years old.
Mm-hmm. Look at the instrument and see if it is in the same condition now as when you signed it.
It is the same.
Any cross-examination? Oh, and there is a cross-examination. That is your signature on there?
That's right, mine.
Could she see you?
Oh, sure.
She wasn't blind?
No.
Was there any fraud or duress used to secure her signature? Did anybody force her to sign?
No, she did that of her own free will.
Any questions? Then there is another cross-examination. Mr. Peña. Did she live by herself?
Yes.
There was no one living in the same house?
No.
And she made these quilts.
Oh, yes. I used to help her as much as I could.
And that's the only thing so far, anything I've found for people helping her. And I don't even know what that means. Anyway, so here we go. We're getting into this. This is interesting. So, okay, and she made these quilts. Yes. And you used to help her as much as you could. Okay. And that is all she talked about nearly all the time is quilts.
That's right.
That is all she had to talk about?
Yeah, that's right.
Every conversation you had was about quilts?
She did. That was her hobby. They were beautiful things.
Did you see Mrs. Siebold sign her name too?
Sure.
No questions. Interesting. Okay. So, interesting. They're starting to put in and you know what's funny? It's like all we talk about is quilts. But apparently this was like a big red flag. Okay, the court says, I'm going to speed through some of this a little bit. The court says, I think the court will admit the will. Mr. Flynn says, now judge, the problem now is presented, that a legal problem is presented to the court. That will, that is an instrument which is captioned as a will and was executed and intended to be a will and in the form of a will. Yet in fact, it is not, in that it leaves nothing to any known or establishable beneficiary. No beneficiary can be determined by any extemporaneous evidence because there is nothing within the document itself that gives a clue as to who the beneficiary should be. The Illinois cases on the authority, generally, are that when no person is named in a will and parole evidence is not admissible to furnish a name. And parole evidence, In other words, to quote from American jurisprudence, extrinsic evidence is not admissible to determine the person intended by the testator or where there is a total failure to designate any. And I want to time out and say, I don't know how the law works. I don't know how the law works in Illinois or anywhere else. He may be right about all of this. Let's hope he was, and this was but I just want to, okay, so back to this. That is established, this thing he just said, by a large number of cases, and in particular by the Illinois case of McKay versus Collinson, 292 Illinois 458. I am here in a dual capacity. I represent the Continental Bank, which was previously here as conservator. The petitioner is a young lady in my office. Everyone remember that. I have questions about that. This is my big question. Hey, Wed. Ready? Anna's great. The petitioner is a young lady in my office. The Continental Bank finds this document among Mrs. Meckstroth's papers, and we felt it was our duty to present it to the court for its ruling. It is our suggestion to the court that it is not meant to be admitted as a will, then if, having authorized the will, all we put was the same thing. She has done nothing of a testamentary capacity that this court can enforce. And Mr. McGee says, with reference to counsel's argument, and the court says, identify yourself for the record. Mr. McGee says, McGee, on behalf of William Guild, Attorney General of the state of Illinois, I have recently examined this document. Now, with reference to certain cases cited by Mr. Flynn, there were certain authorities, and I feel that some of these cases he mentions were cited with reference to specific bequests rather than in an aspect of a general charitable trust. The court has jurisdiction to appoint a trustee if he feels it is a good, valid will. Now, the will has been admitted by His Honor. Now, Mr. Flynn, it appears, offered it for admission and then steps aside and tries to knock it out. Being an admitted will, I should like to leave to file briefs or come back later. Mr. Pecknia says, I am the guardian for Wesley M. Sears, Jr., an incompetent, and Carol Sears, a minor. These two people happen to be grandniece and nephew of Bertha Meckstroth. I, too, have examined this will, and even though it appears from the testimony here that it was a valid instrument, I still contend, Your Honor, you cannot, from the four corners of the instrument, ascertain the true, clear intention of the testatrix. It's the fucking coolest word I've ever seen in my life, testatrix. And I have, in examining it, I indicate the last paragraph, the last sentence. She said their housing has been tentatively planned. He's talking about the quilts. Tentatively would indicate an intention not clear. She didn't know what she wanted to do at this time. Going on further, she states, quote, the money I and the quilts have saved, unquote. Looking at the words I and the quilts, she referred to the quilts as individuals and persons in the same thoughts. And I can't understand how quilts can save any money. It would indicate from that there was something basically wrong with her thinking. Going on a little further, she said, quote, I will both the furnishings and the quilts to the memorial, unquote. What does she mean by memorial? It is uncertain. She didn't say to what. She didn't single out to what kind of a memorial or who should handle this memorial. And I question seriously that you cannot ascertain her true intentions from this. You cannot ascertain this, and that is the reason I feel the will should be denied. The court. You mentioned you would like to submit some authorities, I believe, in contrast with what Mr. Flynn was arguing. Mr. Flynn, Judge, there isn't any question but that this document clearly indicated an intention to establish a public charity. It is not necessary that trustees be named. I don't dispute that for a minute. But while a contention might be made, I think it is an awful thin contention. When you find what is the definition of a charity, the recognized definition of a charitable use in Illinois was established in Serrar versus Williams 145 Ill 625 with approval by our Supreme Court in a number of instances. It is, quote, a charity in a legal sense may be more fully defined as a gift to be applied consistently with existing laws for the benefit of an indefinite number of people, unquote. We're almost done, by the way, you guys. Now, this document, of course, definitely shows no purpose. She has done some work during her lifetime, which she says should be preserved intact, and she wants quarters established for it. That is no more charitable than if I said that during my 40-odd years as a lawyer, I have written some very fine briefs, and I want them housed someplace, and I didn't appoint a trustee. I didn't give any machinery to house my private work for the benefit of the public, just house them. That isn't any more of a charity than her quilts are. Mr. McGee. I feel that the mechanics of that, the lady wanted to establish a charity, and the court has the inherent jurisdiction to supply those mechanics. I feel she intended a public charity to those quilts. I think in connection with this, we would have to establish either value or worth of these quilts, if they have any artistic value as such. I note in a recent newspaper clipping that, I'm missing the page, that her quilts were, that they were in the century of progress. Hold on, God bless America. He says, I notice in a recent newspaper clipping, it's the second to last page. Oh God, hang on, you're doing great. Oh, here, I got it. Hold on. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Hang on. Don't give up. Oh yeah. Okay, I got it. I note in a recent newspaper clipping that these quilts were exhibited at the Century of Progress here, Chicago, I believe, in 1933. I feel that if they were a matter of interest so as to merit their exposition at the Century of Progress, that perhaps there is something that the public might be interested in keeping intact and having housed in whatever the way the court might determine. The court can certainly appoint a trustee and have him formulate a plan. There is some $70,000 here. The court. I'll give you an opportunity to cite any authorities to your argument. Mr. Flynn. Mr. Pena, I'm sure, will be arguing vigorously. The court. I would also like to know whether this court, under the circumstances in that type of an estate, can construe a will, and secondly, appoint a trustee. I would like to be enlightened as to that. Mr. Flynn, I don't think this court would have the power to appoint a trustee. The court. We will discuss that when you come back here. And then, at the end, Mr. Flynn says, that's right. The court says, I'd also like to hear the guardian ad litem. So I'll continue this to your convenience next week, Thursday of next week. All right, yeah. So, okay. Stephanie Cake, thank you for being the witnesses.
Yeah, didn't you like it how Mrs. Siebold and Mrs. Santucci sounded like the same person?
They might be sisters, and I think that is the unraveling the mystery of it all. They were twin sisters, and they it was all them. It was the machinations of the twin sisters.
They were from Long Island by way of Wisconsin.
Yeah, and then in Chicago. Okay, so I've had my nose in a book. Quilt Nerds, talk to me. Cake, talk to me. One thing that I've learned that I didn't see before now is that guardian ad litem. Did he have to be there? Was he integral to this thing?
Well, you know what I was really interesting at? You had told, because I asked about the guardian ad litem when I
you did.
Today,
and I was like,
said,
I don't know.
Why is there
like
a
it's
guardian ad litem?
Yeah.
I mean, she was 80 years old. Like, she didn't have any kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then you said, well, it was these great niece and nephew. And it sounds like Wesley may have been intellectually disabled, not sure what,
Yeah.
Yes. They used such lovely language back then.
Yeah.
And then the other child was an actual child. Mm-hmm. But my whole thing is they were Searses.
I know.
It's not like these were some poor little waifs that Bertha should have been taken care of. These were Sears children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's interesting.
It is
really interesting.
Right? It's interesting. And you know what's really weird too that I just saw? The guardian, Mr. Pena, I'll figure out how to pronounce his name. He says the nephew and niece, Carol Sears, was a little boy. Carol Sears was adopted. Carol is a boy. So like, who are you? Like, he says nephew and grandnephew and grandniece. Carol Sears is male. So like, the hell? So it's so much fun to ask you about this. Oh, wow. Kathy says today's value would be, $700,000. Really? And Jill, I saw you. God bless you, coaching someone through childbirth. I love it. Yeah. So this is interesting. So, okay. Bridgewater, they have to be at the hearings to act in the best interest of the person. Yes, exactly. But like, are they assigned by the court? Like, just assigned?
You know, it's been a while since I've seen an episode of Law and Order that had a guardian ad litem, but
Yeah.
I
need
think
to
it is, if I remember correctly, and I know some of you have like legal chops out there, so please correct me if I'm wrong. I think it might be like the court appoints them,
right?
Because it's like there's no conflict of interest,
right?
Like
only sure.
Working, it's not like the kid's parents hired this attorney,
okay,
or it's like a social worker or something, but they're a lawyer.
That makes sense, and that actually is better, right? Because like if the kids knew that person could manipulate those children like crazy. So if you have to have like this,
right? Exactly. So they're like this. Yeah, they're like this. They don't really their only purpose is to serve the child.
Got it. And if you're trying to serve the child and represent the child, you're going to want to get that money for the child, right? Like, because it's like,
right. Yeah.
So here's another question: if this wouldn't have been, what would have been the outcome if? Like, what happens to money that isn't claimed? If Bertha Maxroth dies, nobody knows what to do with it. Nobody comes ask for it. Like, does it go to the state?
Well, no, that's the purpose of this.
Okay.
I can give you guys an example. I don't know this whole probate process, but I know it from the perspective of my grandmother died, and we found out that she never filed my grandfather's will. Oof. When he died, which was 10 years before she died. And so trying to transfer like their vehicles into my dad's name. Oh, yeah. The house luckily had been, but like there was all of this stuff and we were like, what the heck? And so it has to go through probate. And luckily in our case, small town, everybody knew everybody. They were like, yeah, we know what was supposed to happen. But a situation like this, if it wasn't properly filed, and a bunch of people have mentioned there was no executor. There was no executor mentioned in this will. And so that's a problem. That's like why things would go to probate, because you're like, okay, the will as an instrument, right? It's been witnessed and it's been signed and supposedly she's, but if there was an executor, that would have been, somebody on her behalf, like a living person still working on her behalf.
Right, right.
Then their responsibility is to deal with all this stuff.
Mm-hmm. And this is very smart to do that, right? If you have wishes like this, you name someone.
Yeah, exactly. And if the if these hearings can't be resolved, the money does go to the state.
Wow.
And I don't know, I know sometimes they'll have those things in the paper. It's been a long time since I've seen anything, but it'll be like, there's this money out there that it belongs to somebody. Like we've been holding on to it. Mm-hmm. And I think it's sometimes in connection with like probate or insurance payouts, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all complicated legal stuff. But what I will say is when you first told me this whole story, I was like, oh, her family went, you want to give your money to Quilt, you crazy old lady? Mm-hmm. And I think that she was probably the flowery language of the quilts. And she sold quilts, right? I know she gave away a lot, but does she earn money off quilts? Because I'm thinking,
I don't know yet. In the inventory,
that's sort of.
Yeah, I know. In the inventory, there are quilts made for people like Mrs. something for Valentine's Day. So, but it wasn't like it was a commission. It had to have been a commission. But
so if she looks at her quilts as like being her sculptures, like if you had a Rodin sitting in, you'd be like, the Rodin and I have been saving up. Right. It's just like, it's a turn of phrase to me. And she probably had been putting some money aside for them, and it's just a turn of phrase. But they wanted to say she was crazy.
Yep. And Kay, I saw your comment. Interesting to hear the opinions on the value of the quilts by people that have absolutely no understanding or appreciation for quilts and quilting. That's the thing, is like all of this information. And by the way, if you don't know, a lot of you do know, because this is, this is a story. We're working on a story, man. It's like the Quilt Nerd newsroom, So it comes up sometimes. The story of Bertha Maxroth's quilts and her will being cast out or made the national press. And I got clippings, I can pull them up, but I just love this is new content, right? This new document, a primary source. So great. But it made the papers because it was, and one of the headlines that drove me quilting spinster wills herself shrine. And they were like, this is the stitch up, nobody's gonna get away with stitching this up with the thing. It was really this novelty story that this crazy quilt lady had dedicated, $70,000 to building a shrine to her quilts. And it's like, and I hadn't read the will until Thursday. And then there it is. And it's like, it wasn't a shrine. It was a little vague. This is why we need lawyers, right? Like, what did she mean by that? But you're right. No one was advocating for her. And the thing is, they split. Wait. I didn't show you this. Look at this. Okay. I mean, just, are you sitting down? Like, this is really tough. Hang on. Oh, here we are. The inventory of the quilts, like, I don't know, maybe you all were talking about it in the chat. Do you see the values ascribed to these pieces? Let me show you the bottom line on 89 quilts. Let's see. Hold on. Thought I'm in order. Maybe they're not. It's $3,700.
I'm shocked to see. I mean, those prices, based on the research I've been doing, those prices seem like, that's about what they were.
Yeah.
But still, these quilts are silk. Like, she only quilted with silk, right?
Yeah. No, there's cotton. There's silk and there's cotton.
Oh, are there?
Mm-hmm. They're in two.
But nonetheless, there was a lot of silk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Crazy.
And by the way, just real quick, looking at the inventory again, this star quilt, we know where it is, and it's so beautiful, and it's at the Quilt Museum. Oh, look, peacock. You recognize that now. I mean, finding these things, it's so fun. I mean, listen, it's hard for me to do. There'd be a couple of, that intro video for Quilt Nerd would be done if this wasn't happening, because I love it. I think about it all the time, and I work on it all the time. Anyway, but oh God, what was I gonna say? Oh, no. But it was about the inventory, and it was so good. Damn, I lost it. It'll come back. Yeah.
When was the will? The will was in the 50s, right?
60. Oh no, sorry, 50.
Oh,
yes, 56.
56. Okay. Yeah. And then this probate hearing was 1960, right after her death, right?
She died in May, and that happened, what we read was August, I believe. Yeah.
August. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is all happening in like mid 1950s, and then this kerfuffle with the court systems in 1960.
Yep. So Hani, you asked, what is the, you just asked that. Sorry, Kate. That's what you were asking, the date on this. So Hani's question. Okay. Yes. So let's see. What was it? Oh yeah, it was the inventory. Oh yeah. Okay, I remember. So I mentioned Bessie Potter, this sculptor that Bertha like really, really admired. She sent Bessie Potter quilts, and she wrote it down in this inventory that she made. Bertha wrote it down that she sent Madonna and Child quilts to Bessie Potter, 3 of them. And it's so exciting. And so there's a Bessie Potter archives, but I mean, I don't know. It's like, where are those? Where are they? Where are all these quilts? What's easy about this? And I've thought about my next research project. It has to be harder. It really does. It really has to be harder. Here's what's really fun about doing this research. Bertha Meckstroth went to Radcliffe. Do you know Radcliffe tea parties, including the tea party where they auctioned off Bertha Meckstroth's quilts? There's an article in the paper in Boston that says there's a tea for these quilts by Bertha Meckstroth, and we're gonna auction them off for a scholarship fund. And everybody who's going to be attending the tea is listed. So do you think that I have made a list of all the people who were at that tea? Do you think that Kathy... Do you think, my friend Kathy, we're in Bernard, and I have discussed, how do we track down, every single one of the children of these people who were at that tea, because they would have purchased a quilt, right? They're out there. There's 150 of these things. My point is, it's really cool to be interested in somebody who went to an Ivy League, East Coast school, who was in the society papers. There's tons of leads. There's lots of quilts. Relatively speaking, this is a cake. I was gonna say a cakewalk, but I mean this is like Bush League in terms of detective work. And what I've been thinking about, and I may have mentioned it, but it's really important to say it with my whole chest, and really on the main show. I think I might have said it on the tier 2 and tier 3 stream. There are stories that are so much harder to get because there are people who aren't in the paper. And they don't have, a will that goes to probate because there wasn't any money there. You know what I mean? And like, I know that. And the more I look at this story and the more I really, really get passionate about finding these quilts, because damn it, it's a feminist enterprise, okay? It's a political enterprise. This woman had a wish. She made a lot of work. It was really important. It made a difference in the world of art and textiles, and it's really cool, man. It's really interesting. And she was wronged, and I feel like I've always wanted to write something of consequence, but I never. Why? Who cares? Who cares? What are you going to write, Mary? Your memoir? Who cares? But there's a cause here, and that makes me want to really do it, and find these quilts. Maybe make a beautiful book of them, like a beautiful art book, with the story. I don't know. I got to find a lot of stuff. I got a lot of work to do, but I want to impress upon you that like, this is easy because she's a rich white lady. There's no other way. There's no other way to look at it. She went to Radcliffe. She was friends with Helen Keller. She is in the papers. Her death and her money and her quilts and her relatives, the Sears family, made it all very, very public. And that means that there's articles and there's people and there was a show and there's archives, you know what I mean? And as I've been doing this, I've talked to Eric about it a lot. I'm like, this is like amazing and relatively easy. And I want to make sure that the next, and I'm interested in a bunch of different things, and I refuse to do something like this because, except for you and I talked about it, because anyway, I made my point. Like, I just, there's a lot of stories that Bertha's story needs to be told. I would like to help tell it. I would like to move the needle. There are others that need to be told that are going to be a lot harder, and you could argue ought to be told first, but I'm in this thing. I'm soaking in it. I can't get out now. You know what I mean? And I wanted, it's freaking awesome.
Yeah, sometimes, I do appreciate you saying this is a bit of a cakewalk, because I think the Dutton research is too. There's a lot of things I found easily,
sure,
with a little bit of, and of course, I've also mentioned to some of the nerds, oh, gee, I can't find this, and then they jump in and help me.
Well, exactly. Right. Yeah. If you want to do a research project, this is where you want to be, because everything's easier here, I think.
But yeah. I mean, I think this is the part. It is so fulfilling, and it's like this is low hanging fruit, and this gives you the confidence then to be able to like do the really hard ones.
That is absolutely true, Ivana. I love you so much. Thank you. Yeah, exactly right. Because we are freshmen, right? You're doing a research project. You've never done this before. I've never done this before. We don't have degrees in history. We're just like, and we talked about your project the other day, and it's like, what? Why? Who cares? Who cares? It's like, well, I do, and here's why. Here's why. And if you know that, then it matters. But you have to know why. Why does it matter? And to me, what matters about this is that, there's a lot of isms that really bum me out, and ageism really bums me out. And she was 84, she was 84. She wasn't like, so she was like basically a persona non grata, right? Societally, Her sister was gone. Her rich brother-in-law was gone. She made these quilts. I'm sure not everybody really got them. Like, oh, I don't know, like they're amazing. Actually, a lot of people really did love them. I mean, look at them. They're freaking amazing. But she lived alone. She never married. She didn't have kids. And the idea that she didn't matter and that what she wanted didn't matter, pardon my language, pisses me off. It really does. It really does. Because my whole life I have tried, because of my mom being in like quilts and stuff and like me being really interested in them, I'm always explaining myself. And I know I don't have to, but I'm always like, when I tell people what I do or like what I research, you know what I do? This is messed up. I'm going to come clean. Sometimes when people are like, so what do you do? I'm like, I'm a little embarrassed. Whatever. I say I'm a textile researcher and I'm a writer. Because you know what? Because sometimes I just don't have goddamn energy. And I realize this is like, oh, Mary, your life's so hard. I know. But it's like the quilt thing, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to be like, yeah, quilts, like your grandma. Like, I just don't want to. And so textiles sounds a little bit more, frankly, this is funny too. It sounds a little boring So they won't ask me anything else, all right? So I'm like, I'm a textile historian and researcher. They're like, cool. My eyes are glazing over, like, goodbye. And I'm like, great, because I can't do small talk very well, so bye. But it makes me mad, because we know, if you're a quilt person, you know how much time that, like, letter took for her to make. And this quilt, we know where it is. There's 120 of them that we don't know where they are. And I feel a type of way about that. So I'm going to try to track a few down. And I will tell you also that if you ever are in Vermont, you must go to the Shelburne Museum. This quilt is a Bertha quilt that is at the Shelburne Museum. This is, I mean, I've showed it. Like, this is pretty good. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty cool. We have our quilters out there. Ivana, I think of you. And, you know, and quilters are extraordinarily skilled people. And, you know, this is at the Shelburne Museum right now. And I talked to Katie Wood-Kirchhoff at the museum. She's amazing. And I said, do you have any other Bertha Meckstrath? Oh, my God. She was like, oh, my God, Mary, I want to do a Bertha Meckstrath exhibit. I've been wanting to do one forever. We got to talk about it. And I was like, yes, we're going to talk about it. Yes, we're going to do it. Give me a year. Because if you give me a year, I'm going to find more of these things, and it's going to be better. So anyway, I didn't mean to go on quite so long, but I felt that, I mean, that was fun. I think we'll probably, I mean, it's almost 10 o'clock, so maybe that's the show tonight. Which, I mean, there's a lot happening in Dunton World. I think let's Tuesday night. I think this is a lot of research for one night.
Yeah, Dunton might put them over the edge.
I think we need to take care of you. We need to care for you.
But if I may.
Yes, please talk to me. And I'm going to show you.
Robin, you guys might not have noticed, Robin's not here tonight. She was doing some family stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, really, Robin, come on.
Oh, Robin.
I'm kidding.
How dare you?
Robin is such a mom to us. Robin is just so sweet.
Oh, yes.
But, you know, she likes to be firm with you guys and remind you of things constantly. So
very good.
I'm going to step in and be Robin right now.
That's good.
So she says, reminder, if you purchased a 6-month sub during September, it has expired.
Oh, yes, this is important.
If the sub was at a higher level tier, it is possible that your sub has dropped to a lower level. Twitch still has the sub specials going on, though. So they have a 3-month subs for 10% off.
Oh, wow.
6-month sub for 15% off. And you just need to click on manage your sub. Now, I know a lot of you are on tablets and phones, and I just, my answer always is, if you need to manage your subscription, do it on a computer, because you're going to be frustrated on a tablet or phone. And then she said the reason that we're reminding people of this is because you don't want, if you want to be a T2 or T3 subscriber, because you don't want to miss the Sunday socials, you need to look at that because you won't get the email, and you'll realize after the fact, and we don't want that to happen. So
yes.
Be sure you check on that, and make sure your subscription is what you want it to be, so that for the April Sunday social, right?
Yes.
April, right?
Yes.
You'll be in the Verloop drawing, and and I think I've seen you have some other cool stuff, Mary. I think there's some neato stuff coming up.
There's so much cool stuff. Yes.
I guess I sort of, because I'm part of the bakery, I don't get to win stuff, but I wish I was you guys.
She knows a guy. You know what I do. I want to send out a round of love.
I do get perks.
You do get perks. You get perks. But this book, this Quilts of look, this is my head. And this is how big it is. It's very big and beautiful. It's wonderful. And I'm going to give it away. I'm going to give it away to tier 2 and tier 3 people. So I think, wait, no, don't quote me on that. Oh God, what did I forget, but it's going to be given away. One of you will see it. And listen, I will just say this, and this is the last image I have up for you here, which is this. Subscribe to the show. It helps me so much. It helps everything so much. Making copies of this stuff from like an archive costs money. I didn't have to pay money to get all the probate stuff because I could just literally ride a bike down there and like take pictures of it. But there's other stuff in other places. Got to get on a plane. Got to get a hotel room. Got to get a rental car. Go to some archives and a thing and go to the. And so Quilt Nerd is one way that I can try to live and make the stuff that I'm trying to make. And your subscription makes all the difference. And it's like really encouraging. So if you like the show and you get something out of it, subscribe. Tier 1 is $4.99 a month, and I get half of that. Twitch takes half, I get half, and man, it's an awesome thing to do with your dollars. If you like what this is, and if you make friends here and like you dig it, it's like that's it's not so much, it's not so much. Keep it going. And here, thanks, Miss Elaney. Look, this is a clipping that I got here. Quilt maker leaves works as memorial. So this is the national news. A spinster, spinster, 85, who made quilts and wall hangings. This is a terrible, look, I promise you my records are better than this. This is embarrassing, but I have the whole thing. Left a will in which she apparently intended that her $70,000 and 71 remaining quilts, completely wrong, totally wrong, not even close, used to be created a memorial. Anyway, yeah, there you go. She had been declared incompetent. And, gives quilts away. The brief will said she'd given quilts to all her friends. Anyway, so it was just coast to coast, this story. Yeah.
If only Bertha had somebody in her life that said, you know what, Bertha, I respect you. Mm-hmm. Let's put your money in a trust. Mm-hmm. Let's make sure the securities are set up to pay out to that trust. Mm-hmm. Let's secure a place for your memorial. Mm-hmm. But no. Yep. Nobody. They just wanted to call her Mrs. Tiggy Winkle.
Yeah, Tiggy Winkle. And what I didn't show, like I said, I didn't want to get into a weird area, even though it's probably fine. There's receipts for the checks that were written to who got the money, right? And it says her heirs at law would be 8 nieces and nephews and 5 grandnieces and grandnephews. I know all of these names. I mean, I've been in this enough. Like, I know Serena. I know the people because they're in the Sears family, and I'm in contact with a relative of one of the people who was one of these people. And like, I don't know. It's really, I gotta say, it's been a bit depressing looking through all the probate stuff because, and this is just life, man. Like, what are you gonna do? It's chaos. Whatever. There's a bigger purpose. There's not a bigger purpose. I don't know what you believe. I don't know whatever, but like. We know quilts, you and me, and like, they're just objects, and whatever. Just like, let it go, man, let it go. I know. But like, it came down to like, one person got like a check for like $3,000. Okay, listen, it's a lot of money now. It was a lot of money then. Maybe that person really needed it. And I don't know their life. Maybe they did. But like, I don't know. It's not a lot for all that happened after that, And like, I don't know. Maybe it's for the best because a whole lot of people, bought a Bertha Mexroth quilt at Radcliffe, and now it's hanging in somebody's house and they love it every day. And we don't know. But I don't know. I just feel mad about it. I feel mad, and damn it, when I'm mad, I don't get like hopping mad that often. But there's injustice here. It just feels like injustice. So I'm after it and I'm working on it. And anyway, it's a pretty big development. So that's my big development about Bertha Mexroth. I really appreciate you listening to our Readers Theater. Stephanie Cake, I think you did a fine job. I think you have.
Nobody's going to invite me to Broadway, so I have to rely on Quilt Nerd as a chance to act.
Yeah.
To do my theater.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, Roxanne, thank you so much for subscribing at Tier 3 for 6 months in advance. What? Whoa. Okay. Roxanne, thank you so much. You subscribed. Not only did you subscribe at Tier 3. The land of milk and honey, Tier 3. You subscribed for 6 months. So that means, and I know that in 6 months, like, I'll be making this show. That's right. And what will happen how many quilts will we find in 6 months? Well, we don't know. Thank you, Roxanne, and everybody who subscribed, and everybody who watched tonight, and who comes in for this crack up. God bless you. I just really love y'all. I really, really do. Thank you. I'm scrolling through the chat to see who re-upped their subscription, and I'm getting cut off here. Lisa, I thought I saw you. Cake, thank you so much. It was a great show. I'm super fired up. I gotta try to chill out. I'm like wired. What am I gonna do? Research. I guess I'll go to my big file cabinet. No.
Yeah, the Big Bertha.
Yeah, Big Bertha. It's getting real big. Thanks, Cake. Thanks so much.
Thank you. And happy Easter, Passover, or just spring, whatever it is that you do.
Yes, whatever it is that you do. And I made Passover dinner for a friend last night, and I didn't even know about the matzah. I didn't know the story. I didn't know the story of the Passover with the matzah and the thing with the thing. It's fascinating and wonderful. And I have a date with some mini eggs, so okay. See you later. Bye, everybody. Yeah, take care and be good, and I'll talk to you Tuesday night. Bye.